and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. And today I'm back. So I unintentionally ended up taking a pretty long break, about 3 months from YouTube. It wasn't quite planned, but there was a lot of stuff going on in my life that I just needed to do what was best for me, and I didn't have the capacity to film videos. But the day that you're seeing this, which is December 2nd, I am done with my internship. Oh my gosh, if anybody has been watching my channel throughout the year, since I pretty much uploaded my channel changes video back in June of 2021, and really any live streams I've been on in last year, you know that I've been doing an internship since January, and it has not been a fun time. It's been very stressful, it's been very tiring, it's been kind of a nightmare at times, and it got really rough in September. So I ended up taking a hiatus, and I popped up here and there, but for the most part, it was something I really needed to do, and that let me free up a little bit more time to write when I could and just kind of get the rest and the help that I needed in those times. So for my first video back, I just wanted to do kind of a quick update video. And I say quick, and who knows, it might end up being 30 minutes, but I'm hoping not to keep it that long. I just kind of want to tell you guys where I've been and what you can expect from me in the future. So normally when I do wrap-ups, I talk about like the books I read, the things I wrote, and some life tidbits. Usually I include movies and TV shows. I truthfully don't even know if I can do all of that in this video, but I'm going to try my best to kind of keep it that way. And I'm going to move along through the months. So let's start with September. So September is where things really hit the fan for me. September did not go how I planned. So in the midst of September, in the middle, I ended up having another family emergency. That would have marked my 4th in a year. And it was also very scary because it was my mother-in-law and she did have a stroke, and it was potentially life-threatening. We didn't know at the time. So that had been chaos because not only was my mother-in-law in the hospital and life-flighted to another hospital where they can get 2 surgeries done, my husband also had COVID that week, and he was not doing well. It was the first time he had COVID. Like, he dodged it forever, it seemed, and when it hit him very hard. He was bedridden for several days, and at one point he thought he might have had to go to the hospital too because he was not getting better. He did recover fully, thankfully, but it was kind of scary because I had him who was sick, his mother in the hospital, and then I also was not sleeping in our room to try not to, because I didn't get it, thankfully, but I was just very, truthfully, so depressed that week. It was scary, it was not fun. I ended up going to my own evaluation to try to see like if there's anything further I could do for myself, because in the midst of all this, in addition, if it wasn't enough, I didn't think I was going to make my internship hours. I did not get nearly enough in the summertime when I had a lot more availability, and I pretty much had to do 100 hours a month at that point, which is not how it should have been. At that point in September, I was like, I'm screwed. I'm like, I'm gonna either have to do a whole another semester or I'm gonna have to extend it. And I'm like, and all I wanted to do was be done at the end of the semester. Like, I wanted to like hand in my shit and just say goodbye because it's been so stressful. But yeah, I was just really depressed. It was, I think, you know, finally to admit it, like my anxiety and like depression was just at an all-time high, and I was not able to really write. I just couldn't really function at all. I was not doing many things. I also, like, my housework, which is something I usually keep up on pretty well, was falling on the wayside. So your typical, like, you know, struggle bus. Despite struggling through all of that, it did come out better. So, you know, by the end of September, obviously my husband recovered from COVID. My mother-in-law was transferred to a rehab center. They were thinking that she would be able to make a full recovery, which was great, and just would take a lot of work. So by the end of September, things started to look up a little bit better, where things eased up for me. But I definitely was still extreme anxiety every day, not sleeping well. And I should say not sleeping well, like I wasn't getting quality sleep, but it felt like all I was doing was sleeping. And even though it ended on a relatively good note, I don't know how I managed most of this, because I somehow did finish quite a few books in the month. I'm not going to go through everything like I normally do, but I do have Goodreads updates on all of these. My Goodreads is linked in my bio if you want a little bit more in depth about what the books are about or like what I thought of them. Go check it out there. I finished The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, which is like a sci-fi fantasy. Loved that one. I finished Milk and Honey by Ruby Carr. It's a poetry book. I didn't give it a rating because it's just not my cup of tea, but I found some things good. So yeah, it was a weird one. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, adult romance, loved it. Wild is the Rich by Rachel Griffin, a young adult fantasy. So I read that for a book club. It was our first book club read that we started in person, and like I said, it was so, you know. Anyway, The Reyes Incident by Brianna Morgan. That was a self-published horror. Didn't really jive with that one. Then I read Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. Fantastic. I thought I wrote some things in there, but apparently never did, but excellent book. Lots of trigger warnings, so I would be certain to look into that before you read it, but so excellent. I think that's an adult fantasy book. Then I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Again, excellent. I finished that like the couple days into October, maybe. It might have been the end of September. I didn't put it up, but yeah. That was all I read in September. I'm actually pretty impressed that I read that much. I truly think that I was just grasping onto books and really audiobooks. Like most of these were audiobooks. I didn't read a lot physically because I could not focus to save my life. The Reyes Incident. That's the only one that I read, actually. And that was a short one, so that's probably why. So yeah, so I can't remember like TV and stuff like that. Blows my mind. The only thing I remember is that my nephew, who died earlier in the year, we went to a like softball tournament and they honored him during that, and that was something he was dedicated towards. Like he did this tournament every single year, so it was bittersweet like having them honor him, but it was still very sad because it's only been a few months since he's died. So yeah, September sucked. Just put it out there. I got some good reads in, but the whole month relatively was shitty for me. And that is why I essentially ended up taking the hiatus, because I could not function most days. And then October happened and we were trying to pick ourselves up. And by doing so, the first weekend of October, we brought home this little baby. So this is Suki. She is a Shiba Inu, like our other girl, Aria, and she's just a baby. She's definitely brought a lot of joy into our lives when we needed it, and having a reason to come home and be excited has definitely helped, I think, both me and my husband. So this was our biggest change in October. And she's feisty, so she might be in and out now. So we did get Suki pretty early. On the release of this, she will be 17 weeks old. So still very, oh my God, Suki. Now she's biting me. This is what I deal with on a daily basis. So she's crazy. She's very much puppy. Her and Aria are still trying to get along, but they're doing better. She's just so hyper and wants to play all the time. And Aria is not always wanting to play. Case in point, she's probably not going to leave me alone for the rest of this video, but it's okay. We love her to death. Other than that, which was the big thing, I did have a really good weekend in October for the Fall Fest weekend, for like Indigenous Persons Day weekend. I went out quite a lot. I went to some craft shows with friends. I went out to like dinner. I just got to see a lot of people, and that felt really good too, because it had been a while since I felt like I was a normal human being. And that's really all I can really remember. I know I went to a Halloween party. My sister has one every year. I was Little Red Riding Hood, and I'm sure other things happened, but again, I blank a lot. I can't ever remember things anymore because I didn't write them down. So like I was trying to write things down in like a bullet journal for when things happen so I can talk about them in wrap-ups, but again, that fell to the wayside. I did have my second book club in October in person, as well as with my online Discord. That is free to join if anyone's interested to join a book club. We primarily read sci-fi and fantasy. It's on Discord. We have monthly virtual meetings. You are welcome to. I'll leave the link down below. So far, it's been pretty much people we know in person, but we're open to having other people as long as you're polite and engaged. That's all we want. So as far as my reading goes for the month of October, I read the 9th Sookie Stackhouse book, which was Dead and Gone. I adore this series always. I read The Institute, which was my virtual book club. We are called Litasaurus Rex, by the way. That is our book club name. So Litasaurus Rex Book Club. We read The Institute by Stephen King. Then I read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Loved that too. Those were all the books I read. So I slowed down a lot in October. So by October, with my internship in particular, I was starting to feel a little less panicked. I knew at this point, like I calculated how many hours I would need per week. It was still quite a lot on top of my full-time job, but I was pretty much just making things meet where I could. I was taking on extra hours where I could. I was reaching out to people to do updates. I worked from home quite a lot, which was nice, but again, I was always working, so I would work from home until 7, 8 o'clock at night and then be exhausted. Or I would have like maybe a small break for dinner and then have to like, go back on a phone call. So as much as I want to say like it was easy, it wasn't. And I definitely was not spending time how I would have wanted to spend time. I just felt like I would live for the weekends and then the weekend would get here and I would just feel so burnt out. So I knew a plan for my internship to still be able to end by December 10th. I think that was technically the last day. Was December 10th is like where I would have to actually be done to count it and not get like an incomplete or an extension. So I was like, okay, we need to do this. Things were looking good. And then at the end of October, we went to class and people were talking about like, hey, I got an email that my subscription for this program that our college like expects us to have, like it's part of the internship experience. Well, that was going to expire on December 2nd. So a full week before the end of the semester. And pretty much we were told we're shit out of luck. If you don't want to buy it, then you have to have your internship hours done by December 2nd. So truthfully, I'm already irritated at this point and I'm like, well, I'm just going to have to figure out how to factor in a little extra hours because I'm not paying for this program. It's not a lot of money, but it's like the whole idea of this, like that the school is requiring us to do it and they can't even give us a full year. Like it started mid-January and ends the first week, not even the first full week of December. So like you said you paid for a full year, but you didn't. So that's why I'm a little salty over the whole incident. But I was starting to feel a little bit better again because I was at least maintaining consistent hours by the end of October. And that was making me feel a little bit better in the whole chaos of this whole shit show. So then comes November, the final month. And to be honest, I finally started feeling a little bit like myself again. It didn't really feel that way until I went on a Wild Woman Witchcraft 101 retreat. It was with a local business. It was kind of like meant to be getting back to basics, like getting in touch with yourself. And there was just a lot of like positive things that happened. We had a ancestral meditation where the woman who ran it took us to try to meet one of our ancestors and like drummed, and it was a very, very vivid experience. There was also a sound bath, which is another type of meditation, but it's just used with sounds, like singing bowls and gongs and like a bunch of different like wind chimes, stuff like that. Like it's very beautiful. And that was also kind of trippy in some ways by itself because you're just surrounded by all these sounds and you just feel like you're in a different plane. There's also massages that we got that was included in the price that was also used with like Reiki and crystals. Felt like $1 million after that. That was great. And then there was also like little workshops and things like that. Plus like we were in the middle of the woods. It was in like this really old home that just felt like it had a lot of character. There was like a big lake next to us. Like we got to adventure. I truthfully didn't know how much my soul needed that rejuvenation until I got home and felt like this huge weight lifted from my body. I felt so good. And truthfully, since then, like I've had a little bit of spikes of anxiety, but like since the second weekend of November, I felt like $1 million and I needed it for sure. So that happened and that was the biggest thing in my life. I will definitely link the business down below if anybody is interested. They're a great business. They're women owned. They are doing lots more retreats in the like Pennsylvania, the Northeast Pennsylvania area. So if you guys are ever interested, you could definitely check them out. And you don't have to be from this area to go on the retreat. You just obviously have to make sure you can get transportation there. So if you drive or you fly in or something like that, but it's open to whoever. You don't have to be a local to attend these things. I couldn't recommend that enough. It was exactly what I needed in the exact time in my life. And then, of course, you know, I had some other positive things. Like we had Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving, for the most part, despite all the ups and downs and the family changes and things, both of my Thanksgiving dinners, I had 2 different days for Thanksgiving this year, which was a huge relief again, because I didn't have to travel and not eat places and not stay for, you know, very long. That went really well this year, and I'm very, truthfully, as corny as it is, I'm very grateful that I got to have like one of my families have a different day for Thanksgiving so I could actually enjoy myself. And as of the end of November, which is, you know, just a week ago when you're seeing this, I had been able to calculate that I would finish my internship on the 2nd. I didn't have to pay for anything extra, like I would meet all my hours. It's kind of wild because I really, thinking back to September, Bree, like how panic-stricken and sad and worried I was about this whole experience. It's kind of crazy that I made it, and I actually made it a week earlier than I needed to. So overall, like I'm just very, very happy that the month ended in such a positive note, and I'm going into December being done, essentially. So I'll probably do more updates like as things go, but really after my internship is done and I submit all my stuff, the only thing I have to really do next is take my test for my licensure. But I did apply to take it, and they changed their system, and now their system is giving waitlist out. So I am not cleared to take it until like April, which sucks. I found that out in November. I was highly upset because I have to pay $400 for this test. And prior, you would just sign up and you could take it as early as a month. And now they changed the whole system and they're making me wait. So I thought I was going to take this test in January initially. And now I can't until April or May. They gave me a huge window. It was like April 14th to like May 29th. So at some point in time, I'm going to take this test. But that'll be my next step and my last step. As soon as I pass that test, I can apply for licensure. So I might not be getting licensure as early as I thought. Like I was hoping to be licensed by March as a professional counselor, but hopefully by the summer, there should be no questions. I should be a licensed counselor officially. So yeah, definitely just a lot of ups and downs with this whole counseling professional degree that I've been trying to finish. But at the end of the day, I'm still practicing as a counselor under supervision, and it's fine. I'll have more time to study now without school looming over me, because I have not studied at all. I was initially going to take it in October, and I would have failed. I was not able to concentrate at all. And then besides, before I get into the books of November, the only other thing I want to say is that I somehow was blessed by the deities of the world, because after coming off of my retreat in November, my friend had asked me that weekend if I would be interested in going to see Taylor Swift. That is something that I would have definitely done. It was definitely something that would be on my list because I've heard her shows are amazing. And also since 1989, I've been pretty much a fan of her music, especially with Folklore and Evermore. Like I loved those albums to death. So I was definitely down to go because she hadn't toured in so long. Both me and my friend, tried to get on the wait list for the pre-sale tickets. I was just waitlisted further. She got on it. She had a work meeting and then I was like, well, I am working, but I probably can swing it a little bit. And by some grace of any deity out there, we ended up getting tickets to see her in Philadelphia. So that was something good that happened in November. I didn't overpay. I got them somehow just by sheer waiting, because I really wanted to refresh the page, and I'm like, don't do it, don't let those intrusive thoughts happen, because you're not going to get the tickets. And sure enough, I didn't refresh, and it moved, and I got through the line. It does suck that like people who didn't get them, my heart goes to you guys, because it was a nightmare for sure. And the lawsuit that is going to be against Ticketmaster is well worth it, because they suck. They're a monopoly. But I am excited because it is something that I really wanted to go to, especially with one of my best friends that I don't get to see all the time because she moved to Philly, so I don't see her all the time. So it'll be a nice weekend for both of us, and I am really excited for that. And then for the November reads, I read Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I was so on that one as well. Not that it was bad, but it was less gothic than I would have liked it to be. Then I read A Lesson in Vengeance for my in-person book club, which I thought was perfectly gothic, and I loved it. I know obviously with every book, like not everybody's gonna like things, but I thought it was so eerie and I second guessed everything the entire time I read it. I also read Demon in the Wood by Lee Bardugo. That is the graphic novel that follows the Darkling. Super quick read. I personally really liked it. I like to see how like nature and nurture can influence people and how like the combination can make you make your own decisions down the road. So I really liked it. It was a nice little glimpse into pre-Darkling era, and I would recommend it if you're a fan of the series. I also read Destroyer of Light by Jennifer Marie Brissett. This is a science fiction fantasy novel that it was pitched to me as Persephone retelling in space. And I'm not 100% sure if I agree with the Persephone retelling, but I do like the book. It was a little bit hard to get into. You have to kind of adjust to like the culture and like the differences, because it's definitely not like most sci-fi fantasy books, which is a good thing in my opinion. It definitely has a lot of culture rich aspects of it, but it was a bit of an adjustment just to get into, especially when you listen to it on audiobook. But I liked it, and that was my Litasaurus Rex book club pick for the month. So if you join, the book of the month is already picked at this point, but if you would like to join, you can feel free to, because we're less than a week into the reading for it. So you have plenty of time to join. The discussion is at the end of December. So yeah, that is pretty much my updates for the last 3 months. Most of it has been stress, and as I know I've said this in the beginning, but as much as I wanted to be here and be present on YouTube, it was better for my own sanity, my own health, and just being able to do the things I needed to do without having to worry about editing and making deadlines for YouTube. I didn't write a ton in the last 3 months. I didn't do NaNoWriMo, nothing like that. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to. January, Bree, was full of hope because I didn't think I would be so heavy into my internship come November. I should have been almost done with less hours needed than I did, which is why in September I was having daily panic attacks over finishing, because I should not have had so low. If you're not sure, from January to April, I needed to have 100 hours done, and I couldn't go over that 100 hours. And then from May through December, I needed 600 hours. I could go over that if I needed to, but like I kind of just needed to do that within that time frame. And my hope was that I would have had 400 hours done between May and August, where I had less hours for my day job and could have used a lot of that time to get these hours up. But unfortunately that didn't happen. So because of that, I didn't have a ton of writing, but I have been doing an in-person writing club that I host once a month. And those have been a lifesaver. I've been really productive when I go to those, and I do get such a high off writing when I'm there and coming home. I've kept up on my verse that I've been doing with some friends. We have like kind of a witchy story going on where like this particular area lost magic, but now they're starting to find out that magic isn't gone from the entire world, just where they live. So they're trying to figure out like, what does this mean? So that verse has been really great and just a nice little like way to keep writing without having to like focus too long on something. I have continued my mermaid story in the last couple months. Not super far. I have outlined most of the rest of the book, but I'm getting in my own head about continuing the story because I know there's so much I need to like unpack, but I keep forgetting this is the first draft. Like, why am I putting so much expectations on myself? So I think once I get over that hump and I get back into writing, it'll be good. I have also written in my rom-com. I was hoping to be done with the rom-com in November, but my co-writer has not always written in it as well, and we haven't really had much time to meet up or even just Discord write. Our schedules have been a nightmare, so I'm hoping that now that my internship's over, we can actually write. I feel like we'll finish this. We literally have 3 chapters left. It was so close to being done, but it's just one of those things with time and like trying to co-write with somebody who's doing her own business and somebody who is doing an internship. It's been messy. I did write about my meditation when I went in November. I hand wrote like what I experienced and my feels. I do want to take that and put that into my Word doc for all my meditation musings, but I hand wrote that out. And then the only thing I have unofficially done in the last 3 months is recently I have started thinking about another novel that I want to plot out. This is not a new novel. It has to do with a dream world. And there's some psychology in it. So there's like the psychology of dreams meets like a real like fantasy dream world type of situation. And I've been thinking about like how, like I always had this idea, but I didn't know how to get it going. And lately I've been thinking about like, oh, this would be the catalyst and this would be, so I'm starting to actually plot it out, which means soon I'm going to be having an outline for that book. Probably in December it's going to happen. So my goal would be I'm going to finish a rom-com, finish The Mermaid by the end of the year. Next year, I'm going to start immediately into my vampire novel, as well as my co-written project with Kelly Wright for our German folklore tale. And then at some point in the year, I'm hopefully going to start writing Project Dreamland. In the meantime, I have still been querying. I think I did do that actually once. In maybe September, October, I did end up sending a little bit more queries. I've gotten a few more rejections since then. I'm really hoping that it's going to happen. And we'll just have to see. I'm hopeful. So no really big interest. It's mostly been rejections, but we're gonna try, okay? So anyway, that is my life in the last 3 months. As you might be able to tell, I am in a much better state of mind right now. I'm looking forward to a lot of things coming up, and I'm just so happy to be done with this godforsaken internship. It has been the plight of my life, and I realize now why I didn't do it when I was first in school, because this was a nightmare. But we did it. We did it. We did it. I feel like after finishing a novel or your drafts or querying, like when you celebrate, like that's how I'm going to be celebrating this weekend. I have a lot of plans. I may vlog it. We'll see how it goes, but we're done, baby. Whoop, whoop. So moving on, you can look forward to a lot of videos from me in this coming month. I have a lot of my end of the year recaps. So my favorite books, my least favorite books, my favorite audiobooks, my 2022 goal recap, my 2023 goals video. All of that's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. So you can look forward to that. And I'm so grateful for you guys. In the last month, I hit 1,000 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for coming around. I know it's been a while since I've posted and you guys are still showing up, and I appreciate that. I'm glad that you are here, and I hope that moving forward, you're going to enjoy the content that I have for you. So with that in mind, until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.